Well, good evening, everyone on YouTube. Okay, so my name is Angeline Constantino. I am the founder, transformational life coach, and podcaster of Let's Break the Silence with Angeline. So, our voice matters, and we are here to break the silence and bring awareness of domestic abuse and to bring survivors of domestic abuse onto my podcast so they can share their real life stories because we are here to break the silence. This is our goal. Okay. So, welcome to the broadcast. Thank you so much. For anyone who is tuning in tonight or will be watching the replay, please like and subscribe to my podcast, Let's Break the Silence with Angeline. You can find me on Spotify, Anchor FM, Spotify, Google, Apple, and all the live streams. And please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Angeline Mitchell. And actually, I have some good news to share. I am 2 subscribers away from reaching 100 subscribers on YouTube. So I'm really, really happy. I just feel so humbled and blessed. You know, this has been quite a journey for me, but my podcast really, really breaks the silence and on domestic abuse, and our voice matters. So tonight, with that being said, tonight I have a special guest, which I'm very proud to announce. So her name is Dr. Marni Hill FODERARO. So Dr. Marni Hill FODERARO is an award-winning and celebrated author, speaker, and educator. She earned her doctorate in education from Northern Illinois University and completed postdoctoral studies at Harvard during a very successful and rewarding 35-year career as a high school special education teacher with 12 years as a university adjunct graduate school professor. Marnie's life was forever changed after experienced numerous trauma-induced STEs-Spiritually transformative encounters. Mammy's 5-star readers' favorites 2022 Hollywood Book Festival. She wrote several books which she will be sharing tonight. And, you know, I am really, really happy that she is here tonight because we are going to break the silence on domestic violence and parental alienation. So she is going to be sharing her story because our voice matters. So without further ado.
Oh, hi, Angela. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. And thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I
Oh,
really
you're
admire
welcome.
what you do and, encouraging people to break the silence because, like you said, our voices matter.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why I am so happy. You and I had the pleasure of connecting through a podcasting network. And then when you reached out to me about being a guest, absolutely, because you have a story to share.
Mhm.
So you really, really have. And by the way, where are you tuning in from and what is the time?
Well, it is, it's in the evening, 7:30 p.m. I'm tuning in from the Virgin Islands. So I live in the Caribbean, but that was after a lifetime living in the Chicago suburbs. So,
Wow.
but yeah, I did make a very big move, when my life completely changed.
So tell us what happened. So,
Well, I mean, just like all survivors of domestic abuse, there are many levels and issues regarding the challenges you have in becoming aware that so many of us don't even know we're in an abusive situation when we're in it. And
right.
I'm definitely one of those people. So it can happen to relatively intelligent, successful individuals that can find themselves, after being love bombed and then, married with children, sometimes in time with some individuals, the true colors really come out. And, but our light bulbs don't go on because, we're so busy working
Mhm.
hard and raising a family and, being busy, so we don't focus on the negative. And if we do see the negatives and the red flags, we kind of dismiss it a lot, like, oh,
Right.
they didn't mean to say that, or maybe I'm taking it wrong, or it'll get better, or well, I guess this is what I need to deal with, and maybe it'll change, and that kind of thing. So my journey really, I chose to divorce after 27 years of marriage. So
Wow.
that's a long time, and I know people say, how could you stay in something so long if it wasn't healthy, or if it was abusive? But like I said, I didn't really know the whole time that it was. I mean, abusers are very, very skilled. They are very manipulative, and they definitely mix in positive with the negative. So there's a lot of intermittent reinforcement, because they keep you hooked. They future fake you, you've made this commitment, and there's a lot of gaslighting that goes on, where you kind of question your own abilities, or your own worth, or whether or not you saw what you saw, even though you saw what you saw. But basically, I was going along living my American dream, and one night over pizza, there was some unintentional confessions, I believe. But some of the true deceit was revealed. And I think I say unintentional because I don't think that the abuser planned that would be our last night together, our last evening out for dinner. And it did involve a lot of money manipulation. A lot of these abusers are obsessed with money. They are financially controlling. They juggle accounts. They do what they can to steal other people's assets, especially if they're married to them. They think they are entitled to, be dishonest and kind of set themselves up for if and when the relationship would dissolve. So anyway, that was a light bulb moment, and then it was followed up with physical assaults and threats, and it was very clear to me I needed to escape. And like so many people, I did not have an escape plan. I did not really think through, wow, I should find out more about our financial dealings, because I delegated that, or I relinquished that to him, while I took care of so many other things, home and family. And people do this in relationships. I mean, they trust their spouse to have the best interest of the family, but that's not always what happens. So, and anyway, I lost everything. I lost my home, even though I was told it was paid off for over 10 years. That was in foreclosure. I lost my assets, my money, and I even lost my 2 adult children to parental alienation. And that was extremely traumatic and devastating for any loving parent, to have their children ripped away based on a false narrative and that type of thing. So, I ended up having to have a garage sale. I could not stay in this beautiful suburban home that I spent so much care in creating, such a warm and loving environment for my family. And, I had this garage sale, but at this garage sale, instead of being sad or angry, I was just filled with love. I was filled with gratitude. I was looking at the blessings that I had, not what was being taken away. And I've kind of always had that kind of positive outlook in life. So whenever I've had other adversities in my life, challenging situations, I really try to look at it as a learning lesson. And what can I take from this to improve my life? So, but I found my writing voice. And, I wrote this award-winning book called God Came to My Garage Sale.
I love the title of the book.
Thank you. Well, it actually might even become a movie. which is very cool.
You see that?
Yeah, see, it might even hit the big screen. So I'm in talks with a number of people regarding that. But basically, even though it's a spiritual fiction, it was inspired by true events, true miracles that I experienced, which were a number of things, surrounded by 50 to 100 dragonflies. Everything was kind of in slow motion, finding pennies and feathers and meeting people that seemed to be otherworldly, and actually having communications through electronics. And a lot of these things that I never really knew about, didn't really believe in it until it happened to me. And I experienced it, and I really researched it and looked into it and realized, yes, I was given this amazing experience. And so I wrote this book. It was endorsed by James Redfield, who wrote the Celestine Prophecy. So I really got some validation that, my voice mattered, at least in this experience. And after retiring from my 35-year career as an educator, I moved from the Chicago suburbs out to the Caribbean, where I live. But that is where a lot of the healing actually really began. I've been here 3 years. And in these 3 years, I've written a 5-book series called True Deceit, False Love. And it creatively addresses domestic violence, narcissistic abuse, parental alienation. And then a big component in any healing is to really look within yourself, kind of go back to your own intergenerational family traumas and the dynamics of your parents and your siblings, and try to figure out why you had weak boundaries or why you would allow abuse. We don't take credit for being abused. Abusers abuse. They target us, and victims don't do anything to deserve being abused.
Exactly.
But it's very important still to understand, your foundation and why you might be a target for abuse, and why you might be an overgiver or an extreme empath or a people pleaser. All of those kind of behaviors are like puts a target on your head for people that have malevolent intentions. They want to harm someone. They want to choose someone that they can control and manipulate. And usually it's someone that has some sort of trauma in their life that they can exploit.
There you go. Oh, we have one of my followers is tuning in. So Sammy Sam had a question. Hi, would you say most domestic abusers have narcissist traits or full disorder?
Okay. Hi, Sammy Sam. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for tuning in.
I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I am just a survivor of domestic abuse. And I'm someone who's done a lot of research and writing on it. But I would have to say that in my experience, and what I have read is that, yes, so many of them have various, levels on the spectrum of cluster B personality disorder. So whether it is, a narcissist, and most often these abusers are covert, vulnerable narcissists, but they can still have overt traits because they want that attention. Lots of these people are the CEOs and presidents of companies. They want to be in charge and control people. But yes, I would say, so many of them have those kind of personality traits. They're very mentally ill. They will project, and call you mentally ill, but they'll also accuse you of lying, cheating, and stealing.
See that happened to me too.
It's really them that are doing it. They're looking in the mirror. So they do a lot of projection. But, Sammy Sam, just so you know, and you probably already know this, there's so many of these dangerous abusers do not get diagnosed. They don't think anything's wrong with them. So it's not like, you've got the rare individual. And I've come across a couple of them that do self introspection to realize that, yes, they have these traits that are very harmful to other people. And some people want to change and actually, as a result, bring awareness to this type of disorder.
Sure.
But these people are not diagnosed, and they're the ones pointing the finger at other people, thinking that, everyone else is beneath them. They're much more superior than everyone else. They're above the law too. As you know, they don't follow court orders, and they don't.
No, they don't. Yeah.
They don't think that it applies to them. Hi, Danielle. How
Hi,
are you?
Danielle. Danielle and I had the pleasure of meeting on TikTok. So thank you, Danielle, for tuning in. How are you? She's such a sweetheart. Such a sweetheart. And Sammy, see, thank you so much. I didn't know the difference between narcissist abuse and domestic abuse.
Well, domestic abuse can take many different forms. Domestic abuse can be physical, emotional, sexual, financial. Domestic abuse can include parental alienation of your children. So domestic abuse can take on all different kinds of forms. And, not all domestic abusers are narcissists. And just like all narcissists are not domestic abusers. So there is a difference. And gosh, if you like, for example, the first book in my True Deceit False Love series, it has, and I've got it right here, it has 15,555 terms and phrases on this relationship, trauma stuff. And there are many different types of narcissists that are, highlighted in here. So yeah, it takes a lot of research to really understand, because, so many of us, we don't think this way. We don't know this terminology. We have to learn it because, really when we put a name to something, it really helps us understand. And eventually it helps us heal. And Sammy Sam also said that most abusers were abused themselves or were around it. Absolutely. And they will deny that, they will deny that. They will
said that she dated one of those too. See?
Right. They will say that their childhood was perfect and that you come from a dysfunctional family, when really they were taught to hate, and they were neglected or abandoned, or some of these people were, their ego was overinflated, so they were put on a pedestal their whole life, like they could do no wrong. So there's a lot of different ways that their childhood experiences manifest into them. They're very weak individuals. They're very pathetic, actually, to be honest with you. And in the beginning, you might see that. You might be like, well, I don't know if I want to date down, or, because they have a lot of issues or whatever. I mean, most of them. But
most of them do, right? They do.
Most of them do, but they grow up to not only seek positions of power, they seek to be powerful and controlling over others. And that's how they can, play out these relationships.
And Daniela said that she dated one of those, and I'm doing good, Danielle. I'm doing great. And I know you're doing well. So Sammy asked a good question. Is it available to buy if I'm in England?
Oh my gosh, yes. My books are all on Amazon. And, there are even some book clubs in England with my original book, The Spiritual Fiction. But yes, and if money is tight for you, which it is for a lot of people, you can get an e-version to your Kindle or electronic library for under $4 US.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So you can get these books instantly with a click of the button for, very low amounts.
Right. And here is, okay, so this is your website to buy the book then, the Amazon.com.
Right. Yeah. You can check out my books there.
All right, good. All right. So Sammy, make sure you write that down. I'll leave it up for a while. So, because I have more questions. Like, I love this conversation because, like I said, you're bringing to light the difference between narcissistic abuse and domestic abuse.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't know, they think they're one and the same, but why are women so fearful to bring, why do they feel stuck?
Well, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that,
Good.
especially with
Okay.
your podcast, sort of getting people to speak out, and to try to be strong enough to tell their story. I think that there's an extreme amount of fear. I have experienced that type of fear as well. Some of it is unfounded, but some of it is real. These abusers love to threaten you, and they love to silence you. And look at Danielle says blackmail. Sure. They
Absolutely.
love, right. They want to isolate you so that you don't have a support system. That's where that smear campaign comes in, where all of a sudden, somehow you leave the abuser, whether you leave or they discard you, and you find your support system is not there. Neighbors you used to talk to no longer talk to you. Friends and family, say that they don't want to get involved. They want to be neutral, but really their neutrality is supporting the abuser.
I agree.
And even people at church that you might have known for decades, they don't get involved. They don't even ask how you are. It's unbelievable. So,
Wow.
So many of us find that we are really on our own to navigate this situation.
Exactly.
But there's definite fear because, they love the courtroom. That's kind of like their playground. These people, well, they've already stolen your money and so many other, people's money. So money is not an issue for them, where it would be for you having to go to court to defend this. It's traumatizing. So many of us have already been through so much abuse, and then we get re-abused in the legal system with, threats and legal things that we're forced to respond to. And so you're always kind of in fear of whatever you say is going to be used against you. It doesn't matter what you say, it will be used against you.
Right. And you have to be so careful.
Right. And these abusers have no problem lying. They will lie and falsify court documents, sworn affidavits. They will even include fake documents or unrelated documents into an order because they know judges only look at so much, and they're so calm, cool, and collected that they can really kind of win over so many people. I mean, there are so many people that are just oblivious to their tactics because they come on so upstanding, so sincere, such a good person, when really what they've done is they've learned from you about being a good person, and they've tried to mirror that to be able to function in society, when really they are like empty shells. They don't, it's there's a lot to research and to understand what you're dealing with. But yes, the fear can be real, and it's good to get to a certain point where you can, we, at least for right now, we still have our constitutional rights to be able to speak the truth. And I'm certainly not about slandering anyone else. I would never contact his employment and say anything. I would never even contact one of the many exes that he has gotten back involved with. I mean, I have no interest in doing that. I also, with my children, even though they are not in my life right now, I still would encourage our children to have a relationship with both parents. And that is what the loving, empathetic, targeted parent does. They believe in goodness, but they believe in knowledge and understanding, but they certainly would never harm another person, or encourage others to know the truth about what they are. I think we're all on a journey, and people act differently around other people, and it's for someone else to on their own journey to find out what they're dealing with.
Exactly. And like you said, we are all on our own journey.
Yeah. Mhm.
And, I know in the case of myself, court was a mess and I had no children.
Yeah.
And I
I
went
didn't
through,
even have minor children. And of course, even though I thought we had assets, they were all depleted. I don't know
that
where
happened to me too.
all our money went. In
Mhm.
some of these cases, some of these abusers even have, other families that they are
Mhm.
supporting that are secret. Some abusers have addictions to pornography and gambling,
That's
or
true.
they do, a lot of big investments. They hide money. They're just obsessed with it because really in their eyes, money gives them validation, but also money gives them, some power and control over others. And money does talk for a lot of people, certainly for children. The
Mhm.
children, they will go towards whoever is going to, give them a free ride on something. And until they're old enough and wise enough and they put the pieces of the puzzle together to realize, no, you know what? The world is more about love and about human connection.
Right,
And
exactly. More
right.
than ever.
And it's the honest people, that are the ones, that the truth tellers, the truth seekers. They are the good people in the world, that don't want to wish harm on anyone.
Exactly. So please, yeah, and I'm glad you brought light to that because speaking for myself, he hid all the money. I had no idea where the money was,
Right?
and
Yeah.
I had lost my corporate job at the time. I lost my corporate job. I lost my sense of self worth. Not only that, but just everything just crumbled, just
Right.
went down. But
And
the only
they want you homeless. They want you
right,
destroyed. They want you to lose everything. They want you to lose your spirit. They want you to lose your happiness. And when they eventually find out that no, you're still a happy person, even though you've lost all of this stuff, then they try to take the children. And so many of these abusers will actually go so far as to murder you or even murder your children, because they will stop at nothing, because they want you destroyed at all costs. You know why? Because you know what they are about. They are so
exactly.
in fear of being exposed, even though they are the ones that expose themselves. They are so in fear of their public image being tarnished,
Mm.
when really they do that to themselves by their actions.
Right, exactly. The parental alienation, though, that's something else.
Ah, it's just, it's the most heartbreaking thing that I've met so many wonderful dads and wonderful moms that have lost their young and adult children to
Oh,
this.
mhm.
And when they're younger, of course, the court systems are involved, and the alienating parent will move the kids away. They won't tell the other parent where they are. They'll cut them off from all school communications. If you try to reach out, they'll have you blocked on all communications,
Wow.
phones. They'll return letters and gifts. Then they'll go and they'll make sure they throw away every photograph of you. They'll give this narrative to the kids. And I'm not 100% sure, but I vaguely remember one of the last conversations I had with one of my adult children, who is now, we're going on almost a decade of alienation. That
Right.
child said to me, Dad told me that you never wanted me, and that you wanted me dead, and that actually many times you tried to murder me. And it is so outlandish, the story. That
Ooh.
story is true. It is
Yeah.
just unbelievably outlandish that this adult child would even believe these things after experiencing 20 years of a loving, happy, fun, supportive relationship, with
Oh
their
my God.
mom.
Right.
So So it's they can be brainwashed and have memories rewritten, and then if things are repeated enough by the abuser, and they can do it very covertly, they might not come right. In fact, I know of another alienated mom. She hasn't had her 4 children in her life for over 10 years. I think
Oh,
she's going
wow.
on 12 years now. They were younger when her kids were alienated. And, it's unbelievable the stories that these kids believe about this mother, but the father in this case, has gone to extreme efforts to throw away anything that is related to that mother. And it's just a devastating dynamic. Unfortunately, the odds of reuniting or having a healthy relationship with your children after this extreme parental alienation is very unlikely. It's not to say, you don't want to ever say, no, you can't, but so much damage has been done and so many milestones have just been missed. And at some point you've got to be careful even trusting your own adult children, especially if they're connected to the abuser, because the abuser will use them. They will use them as a kind of a war weapon to destroy that parent, by proxy. So these kids, they think that alienating parent loves them so much and supports them, but really they're using them to just get back at their ex. That's what it's all about. It happens to millions of people. It is just very devastating. It takes on different forms depending on the age of the children. But either way, it's extremely devastating. Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine how you feel not being able to see them. But I will never forget when I was in court, and this is 12 years ago. I remember before I came, before they called us, my attorney and I, we were sitting, and there was a couple, and they were arguing, like literally arguing about the kids. And I think one of the parents wanted to have full custody of the kids, and they were just going back and forth and back and forth. But you know what the judge said? Do not use your children as pawns.
Wonderful. Yeah.
The judge
not many judges or lawyers even understand parental alienation, or if they do, they oftentimes will favor the abuser because they know the honest, loving parent is going to keep on trying to fight for justice. So then that keeps job security for them, and it keeps this whole thing going on and on and on and on. In fact, it's been almost a decade and I'm still back in court with my ex-husband. I've never filed a petition against him. Even though he's been in contempt of court, he hasn't followed different orders. I never had the money to pursue it, nor the interest, or, I was so traumatized by all of it. I wanted to get far away. Heck, I moved to the Caribbean, thousands and thousands of miles away to get away from this abuser.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, but they want to keep you engaged, even if it's based on false information. They feel that sense of power and control, and you just would like to hope that at some point they could just move on in their lives, just and pay more attention to these other people that you've roped into your life. And but they're obsessive. It's very sad. They're very pathetic individuals.
Yeah, that's a shame. Well, it is time to break the silence.
Yeah.
And we broke the silence tonight. So, what I would like you to do, talk about your books briefly, and then we will close the broadcast with a special message.
Well, okay. Sure. The first book is a spiritual fiction. God Came to My Garage Sale. And it was about some miracles I experienced. When it could have been the most sad and unfortunate time that I was embarking on, having to leave this beautiful home, but I was filled with love and gratitude. And I think sometimes trauma will induce some spiritual awakening in you, because you
Right.
you have to reflect and understand, what is going on here, and you end up learning more about your life's purpose, and then paying attention to some signs and synchronicities that you might think are just God winks or coincidences, but maybe they're there to help you on your journey. And then the 5-book series, True Deceit False Love, is highly endorsed by abuse recovery specialists, in this community. So I would, if nothing else, go to my website and just check out who endorsed my books, because these people saw value in what I was doing, which was awesome. But they were people that I looked up to for information when I was trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. So
Right.
the book, I told you about the first book that has all those terms and phrases. There's acrostic poetry, free verse poetry, done in a way that anyone from any situation, any role, any gender can kind of see themselves in that situation. So it's very much informational with an emotional twist to it. And there's a survivor's workbook. So if someone in your audience thinks that maybe writing might be healing for them, it was for me. I have a survivor's workbook where you could learn how to write your own acrostic poetry. Very easy. And then I also have a word search puzzle book, which is very unique, but just another creative approach to deal with trauma. Sometimes we need to step back and distract ourselves, do something, other than just constantly researching what did we go through. And we could have a tendency to trigger ourselves over and over because we're ruminating on what happened and what we should have done and why we should have left earlier and all of that.
Right.
We need to mix it up a little bit, and we need to take care of ourselves, and we need to discover our passions and live life, and little by little kind of train yourself to kind of break away from such trauma. And I think the start is kind of finding your voice. And not everyone will be comfortable talking on a podcast. Not everyone will write a book. But if you have a trusted friend or even a wonderful pet to talk to, or even just talk to yourself if you don't feel you have the support system at this time, and get this trauma out of your body and onto a page or into the air. Our voices matter, and we do need to break the silence. And that's kind of where the turning point for your healing will begin.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No doubt about it. And that is the message. And you certainly turned your mess into a message, throughout the world. Discover our passions. I talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
Like I know for my, like what lights you up? What lights you up? But I know myself, after I got out of domestic abuse, I was writing. Like I started a blog and I was writing because I was still healing. I had moved up here, not to this apartment, but it was another, a small 1-bedroom apartment on the other side of town. So, I spent a lot of time on, I would say, a rediscovery. And now I keep all kinds of journals. I write every single morning. I focus on gratitude because gratitude is very important. I pray every morning. I do my meditations. So I have a morning routine. And I know that, a lot of these women, they, I know that from experience and from working with other women, they don't really have a morning routine. But once they get into it, then,
and it doesn't, the morning routine doesn't have to be very time consuming or all encompassing. Right. It can actually just be 5 minutes reading an affirmation or waking up in gratitude or prayer.
That's what I do.
It can be so short, but that could set the tone for the day. But I believe knowledge is power, and some people benefit from a life coach and counseling. And I know you offer 3 different programs for people, different levels, to process, with the kind of talk therapy, that kind of support is really needed. I'm going to share with you a book from someone who endorsed my book series. Tracy Malone wrote this amazing book called Divorcing Your Narcissist. You can't make this stuff up. The covert
No, you can't.
full. No. And this is a book that I wish I would have read before I just went on my gut intuition and just filed for divorce, blindly. But Tracy also, if you find that writing is healing, Tracy has an amazing array of journals that are specific for various, issues. So it's Tracy A. Malone, and her website is called Narcissist Abuse Support. So, I think as a community, between my books and your podcast and your client work, and then so many other people with their research or with their things that they do. And Tracy doesn't have an E in it. So it's Tracy A. Malone, Divorcing Your Narcissist. Check her out. And there's so many other people to check out as well.
I will.
Try to find out, whose message you resonate with. And, I'm finding more and more people that are coming out and speaking up, and part of their healing is to provide hope and inspiration to other people like you are doing. So
exactly.
So I think it's great what you are doing, just to have these candid conversations, where people can kind of, tune in and see if a message resonates with them.
Exactly. So divorce, I'm going to check the book out, and I'm going to definitely contact her. And what is her website again?
It's narcissistabusesupport.com. Narcissistabusesupport.com.
Okay.
And of course, she's one of the people I highlight on my website, godcametomygarage.com. And, just like anyone I interview with or that I talk with or who has endorsed my books, I like to kind of pay it forward and let other people know there are a lot of other resources out there.
Great. That's awesome. So for those of you who are going to be watching the replay, here you go. If you want to check out Tracy Malone's book, which is Divorcing Your Narcissist, and this is her website. I'm definitely going to check her website out. And obviously, to reach Dr. Marnie, these are the websites that you could reach out. And I'm glad Sammy came to my live. Sammy's from the UK, so he probably went to bed. But anyways, I'm glad they were able to tune in tonight. So
right. And actually, there's some wonderful people from the UK that, are providing a lot of services there. One person that comes to mind is Anushka Marcin, Ask Anushka. And she's in England, and she, you can find her on YouTube with shorts and videos almost every day, providing support. And she's from England. So Anushka Marcin, but it's Ask Anushka. And so tell your friend Sammy to check her out as well. But there, if you scroll down my list of podcast interviews, there are a number of people from all over the world, many in England, Australia, Europe, United States. So there are people out there who are lending their voice to help others heal and recover from, this domestic violence, this domestic abuse. It's the loving, empathetic people that are not self-serving. We want to see other people heal. We want this to be a beautiful world. We want us to find peace and joy in our lives.
Exactly. And that is the message. And that's a great way to close the broadcast. Yeah. So, Dr. Marnie, thank you so much for being on my podcast show, for taking the time from your busy schedule to share your story. This was incredible tonight.
Well, thank you so much for having me and for what you are doing and helping and encouraging people to break the silence.
Exactly, because we're giving women hope.
Yeah.
And that's what they need. They need hope. And not only that, they need coaching and they need direction. So thank you so much. I know you're going to be sharing this broadcast, with your network. And I really, really appreciate that. I'm doing the same. So all my podcast episodes, so tonight, all my podcast episodes will be launched on Monday morning. So this broadcast will be launched 1 week from this Monday. Okay. Because I have another podcast episode that's going live on Monday, but right now we're live on YouTube. So I'm certainly going to be spreading the word tonight, and please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Angeline Mitchell. Thank you, all subscribers. Like I said, I'm 2 away from 100, but we need to celebrate our small wins, right?
Yes, definitely. No, it's okay to just get started slow, and the more and more you let other people know, and they'll find that they'll come to your website, they'll come to your YouTube channel. They'll want to hear who your next guest will be, because sometimes one guest might not resonate with them, but they might pick up some very important nuggets that could be life-changing for them with another guest. So, yeah.
Exactly. Well, I'm so happy that you were here tonight. So thank you so much for being on my live podcast episode. So let's break the silence with Angeline. So again, for the viewers and subscribers, please like and subscribe. I would love to have a rating too on Anchor FM, Spotify, Google, Apple, and all the live streams. And this broadcast is coming to a close. And we launch all our podcast episodes every Monday morning at 7 a.m. So be on the lookout, please, for this one, which will be 1 week from this coming Monday. So I want to wish everyone a wonderful evening. Thank you to the viewers who did come on tonight, Daniela and Sammy. We really, really appreciate you. And Dr. Barney, please hang out for a few minutes. And this broadcast is coming to a close. Have a great night, everyone.
All right. Take care.
Take care.